Councilwoman-elect, how are you feeling?
I feel great. We feel really good. We worked really hard for this, 15 months probably of work, from when I filed my treasurer to fundraising, block walking, phone banking, meet and greets that we did in the district. We really worked hard for this win. And so it all came to fruition on election night. And we feel great about the response that we got from the District 8 residents with 57% of the vote. I mean, you can't complain with a percentage like that, and so we're ready to get to work.
I was watching the debate that you recently had with SC Report. I mean, you were saying you knocked on thousands of doors.
Yeah.
How would you characterize your campaign?
It really was that. It was a grassroots campaign and really knocking on doors, phone banking. We had a few neighborhood forums, not too many, and because we didn't have so many neighborhood forums is why those meet and greets became so important to us. We wanted to do meet and greets, but we knew we had to do more of them because the neighborhood forums were so minimal. So we had 20 neighborhood forums by the end of the campaign, and so those were residents that just opened their doors to us and had food and invited their neighbors. So this was really like you asked 10 of your friends to come over. I mean, it was as grassroots as it gets. And so I had a meet and greet that had 5 people, but I had some that had 35 people. And all of those were important because every one of those people that came left to talk to 5 of their friends, right? And so that's how we just multiplied that effort.
Why do you think you were ultimately chosen?
I think it's because our message resonated with the residents of District 8. It really boiled down to making sure that residents continue to receive those quality basic services that we pay for with our property tax dollars. And I think that was important to folks. You know, we talked about public safety, we talked about construction timelines, we talked about workforce and our parks. You cannot talk about anything in District 8 without acknowledging the parks that we have there, right? We're kind of that gold standard. We have 27 parks, and they are visited by everybody in the city. Hardberger Park, Friedrich Park, Eisenhower Park, just to name kind of the big ones. But we have a lot of amenities in District 8 that folks from all over the city use.
You talked about public safety, seniors
Yes.
a lot as kind of 2 big things for
Yeah.
you. I'm curious, and with public safety, what is it about it that you really want to look at?
So it's really just making sure that our residents feel safe when they're home, when they're walking to and from work and school. We've had property crime in our district. We've had mailbox theft in our district. So these are issues that our residents deal with. And I know that other folks in San Antonio deal with these issues, but they are happening in District 8. We have large shopping centers in District 8 with Huebner Oaks and the Rim, La Cantera, even just large parking lots with UTSA. So making sure our HEBs, right? So making sure that residents just feel safe when they go in a store and that their cars are safe, right? And there's things that you have to do too, right? As an owner of the vehicle, making sure you lock your doors and put away all of those, fragile belongings and take them inside with you. And you and I, we all forget stuff in our car all the time. But even with that, it's still just making sure that our residents feel safe when they're at home and when they get their kids to bed and they head to bed and wake up to do it all over again the next morning. The last thing you want is to walk outside and, see that your car's broken into, right? So making sure that our safe officers are continuing to be engaged. Those are patrol officers at the end of the day. Safe officers, they're not a separate, entity necessarily. They make up the larger bulk of our patrol officers, and so making sure that we have enough of those safe officers in District 8 is important because those are the neighborhood police, right? That's really those officers that are there to get to know the neighborhoods and neighborhood leaders and solve the issues that neighborhoods are having.
And seniors are most vulnerable. Why them?
Yeah, because I think our seniors have done so much for our community, right? We stand on their shoulders in so many ways. And if you knock on any door in District 8, I would say, I said every 5 doors that I would knock on, the story was very much the same. It was, I'm born and raised here. Oh, I'm born and raised here. And where'd you grow up? And I grew up on the west side or the south side. We moved to District 8 because of the medical center, because of my job at USAA, or because I went to school at UTSA. And so those stories really resonated with me. Folks that bought their homes 40, 50 years ago. So making sure that our seniors have the resources they need to stay at home and be comfortable and age well in a community that they moved to and built families in is really important to me. So,
is there something that you feel like has been neglected as something that now you're in that chair that you want to address?
Yeah, I mean, I think District 8 has it's got so many tentacles, right? With our workforce centers like USA and Valero, our higher ed with UTSA, our medical center, but those senior centers, right? Bob Ross Senior Center was the first senior center to be built in the city because of Councilman Bob Ross, who advocated for senior centers, and so we built one and named it after him, but that needs some renovations. It is a well-loved place. People always usually will at this point compare it to Walker Ranch Senior Center, which is in District 9. So I think we need to renovate that senior center as soon as possible and make sure that we really maximize the potential of it. It's right there in the heart of the medical center, right? And so making sure that the folks that visit that senior center can connect to all the resources that are blocks away from them. I think a community center would be important to the residents of District 8. We're the only district in San Antonio without a community center. I think that's important to make sure that residents can mingle with each other, and if we can do anything to mesh our younger residents and our older residents, the better off we are, right? That intergenerational learning from each other is important, so that's important to me as well.
So it's interesting because I speak to council members that they talk about infrastructure a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's aging problem. We're a growing city. Is it just that maybe, and I don't know if you can answer this, but can we not keep up with it? And why do you think there is so much neglect, like you just mentioned with the Ross Community Center?
I think it's just it's what big cities go through. I mean, we're like other big cities in Texas, and so we are constantly growing, bringing in folks naturally because of jobs, natural disasters bring folks to our areas. So it's just about keeping up with that growth that we experience. Some areas experience it more than others, but I don't think we don't want to intentionally neglect any part of town. And District 8, I think, is in a position that I'm really excited to represent this district, because I really want to make sure that District 8 continues to have a strong voice and make sure that we're continuing to receive those basic services like community centers and senior centers and parks and libraries and all those important things that we rely on, right?
No, we do. You are familiar with City Hall?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah.
What did you learn from that, and what do you think that you're taking from that's going to help you now to actually sit on the dais? Yeah,
for me, I learned, I worked in City Hall from 2018 to end of 2021, and you just can't unlearn any of that, right? It really stays with you. You learn how much the city is doing and how much work that these city employees are putting into working every day on behalf of the residents of San Antonio. And then you also learn what else needs to be done, right? And so it never ends, and making sure that those strong voices are there that represent districts, that's important to me because it goes a long way. And that's really what I learned from our mayor and the consistency that he showed in his leadership, especially during those really tough times that we both saw during the pandemic, the winter storm, and then also picking back up from those times is also equally difficult. So that's really important to me, and I believe in that type of leadership and want to continue.
I know you come from a political family, right? So you've had that backing. Exactly where you're at, is that what you want it, like you want it to be in a political realm and in a political office and actually be a politician? Was that always your goal?
I think for me it's always been about public service. Growing up in a family that was dedicated to public service and really brought us along. I mean, there was really not too many babysitters. I have a lot of babysitters on my list from like my kids' teachers and family friends and cousins that help out, but my parents were really, doing all of that and taking us along with them. So we had front row seats to everything they did. So it was this really indirect and direct learning that we got from them, and just loving that type of work. It's, what public service is, and strong public service is so valuable to communities, because your local council member, your local official is like that first touch that you have. And so you should know who they are, and you should trust that they're working on your behalf, right?
When you ran for Bexar County Judge,
yeah,
you came in third, I believe.
Yes, yeah.
What did you learn from that race?
Oh God, I learned a lot. So much. It was a very short timeline. I think it was, God, Lee, like maybe not even 2 months of a campaign. But learned a lot in that time, and really value the leadership that I think Judge Sakai showed in winning that race. Ultimately, endorsed him, and then he endorsed me in this race. And so I think that was I think that showed a lot of support and respect for the positions and for the person, right? So I learned a lot from that, and I think you take that just as much as the wins, right? The losses, you learn so much from those.
So then after that, you make the decision, okay, because I'm assuming you have these conversations with your family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's like, all right, so now I'm going to run for city council.
Yeah.
How does that come about? Like, how do you decide, okay, I'm going from this to that?
Just taking some time, right, to get back into work, into family after that race. So I was working for 3 years. And so didn't really think about it immediately. Knew it was something out there, but really focused on work and family. And then as it got closer to deciding, the first people you talk to is your family, and that's what I did. And they were supportive. We had a bunch of back and forth conversations and talked to different mentors of mine, but ultimately decided to run.
This next week you
Yeah.
get sworn
in. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say probably the first big thing that you were going to have to tackle is budget.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Which you're familiar with,
Yes.
the budget cycle. Is there something in there that you specifically want to look at that should not be in there?
Not necessarily specifically, right? It's just really getting back into the groove of what are we focused on as a city, right? Because that's what our budget is. I think it just shows the community that this is our priorities, right? These are the priorities that we have, and they're based on what we've heard from residents, right? And I know that's what I'm going to use to determine what's a priority for District 8, is all the conversations I had during the campaign, making sure that those are the priorities that are in the budget. So again, going back to public safety, construction, parks, our libraries, right? I was at Cody Library for over 20 days. If I think about early vote and election day for both of those elections, and so I really got to see Cody Library, right? And that's in District 8. I think it needs some love, and hopefully we'll get to that soon.
So nothing specific?
No, I think it's really just, and because I want to hear from other council members that have been there longer than I have. I know the priorities, again, that I have for the district, and so making sure we don't lose any of that. And then continuing the work that other council members have to be supportive of that, and then just making sure we have a solid budget.
The other thing besides budget I've been asking everyone is Project Marvel.
Yeah.
It's the next big thing.
Yeah.
What is your take on that? I know it's a very broad question. Do you have any concerns at all with the project? As kind of going into that position, what do you want to know?
For me, it will always be about making sure that residents understand exactly what Project Marvel is and what it isn't, right? What is being funded, what is going to voters for an actual vote where they have to hit, push that button on the ballot. We have some town halls that are going to start soon. The city is putting those together. We go to District 8, I think on July 8th, and it's like a day and a half community session that hopefully will answer questions that residents have. One thing I heard a number of times in District 8 is just like, how does that project benefit me? We're not downtown, we're further north central, but I think those questions should be answered, and I think we have enough people in the room that can answer those questions. And so that's a big one for me, making sure residents understand how this is financed and really what it is and what it isn't, right? Yeah.
Do you support using public funds for Project Marble?
I think I support I think for me, it's a matter of these are visitor tax dollars. I've heard that mentioned over and over again. And so what are visitors' tax dollars that the public has to vote on, and making sure they're very clear about what those dollars are and what they're meant for. And then also we have bond dollars that are being talked about. So do those bond dollars incorporate just district, the downtown area, or does those big bond projects that we spend money on throughout the city, right? So making sure that we get a little bit of both.
I see. When you look at the landscape of what council is now, what do you see?
I think it's made up of people who clearly the residents, voted for, and all get there by a majority of their districts. So I think it's people that are ready to get to work and to represent their districts. And so that's what I'm hoping that's there. I've met a number of them. I worked with some of them when I was in the mayor's office. So that's really kind of what I see. And I know that's why I'm there. So I'm assuming everybody's there in the same way. Yeah.
For District 8, it's been Councilman Pelaez for 8 years.
Yeah.
So this is the first time same as obviously with the mayor, but first time that we're seeing someone new.
Yeah.
What do you see District 8 under your leadership?
It's a district that is, again, it goes back to just making sure that they know how we're spending their dollars, right? They have a very large city budget that's made up of property taxes and sales taxes, and so those dollars are our dollars, right? And so making sure that residents understand what that budget consists of and that they can see the fruits of that, right, in District 8. So whether it's storm drainage, it's sidewalks, parks, libraries, public safety, all of those should be enhanced whenever we can. And so that's important to me that District 8 residents can really point to the work that we're doing.
Do you see it as kind of like a new era?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it really is. It's a new type of leadership. I think Manny did a great job. I mean, he's been there for 8 years. Clearly, voters liked what he was doing. And so we want to build off of that and then also come up with new ideas as well that we heard.
Is there anything, the way that you will run your office? I'm assuming you're still trying to select staff.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a crossover.
Yeah.
But that you will do something different for District 8 in terms of constituent services?
Yeah, I think we continue. I went to a lot of the coffees with the councilman, and those were very well attended. Let's try to do stuff in the evening for families that are working. And we heard that a few times too, that families said, I can't go in the morning because I'm working. So, okay, let's try it in the evening, and let's try a Saturday, and let's see if that works. And, people communicate in so many ways now. We have traditional newsletters, but we get a lot of text messages and emails and coffees with the council member. Let's have maybe some dinner with the councilman, or anything that we can think of to just as much as we can just reach as many residents we can about the work that we're doing.